What's going on, guys? This is the RPO podcast. We are back live again. Sorry, you guys, we wasn't able to be on last week. It was Thanksgiving. We decided not to have a podcast last week, but we are back live today. I'm Jerome Jones, your humble host. We got my man Ray Roberts here today. TJ couldn't make it here today, but how you doing today, Ray?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
I don't know how I feel, Ray. Thanksgiving weekend wasn't the best as far as football wise for me. As you guys see, the shirt that I have on right now, we're trash. My college football team, which is Michigan, everybody knows that we're terrible. Me and Ray were just talking about Michigan right before we got on, so let's just start the conversation right off with Michigan. Michigan losing to the 0-4 Penn State. Oh my goodness, Ray. I'm gonna give my short little spill of how I felt about the game, and then I'm gonna let you go off, and then we're gonna kind of talk about it a little bit more. But Michigan losing to Penn State, haven't won a game this season yet, and we gifted them their first win. Understand Cade, our quarterback Cade, got injured in that game. He was having some shoulder issues. And then we had to bring back Milton. Milton looks so bad right now. I can't fathom how bad he's looking. He is not playing well. And relief of Cade, what's his last name? McMora. I always forget how to say his last name.
McNamara.
There you go. McNamara. Yeah, the team was bad. And the bad thing about it is like Michigan always had that really good defense. His defense looks so out of place. We're giving up yards after yards after yards. It looks so undisciplined. One of my biggest issues with this year was our DBs, and it's really looking really like a lot worse than I thought it was going to be. So I don't know what to say about this team. We're progressively getting worse and worse and worse. And as I've been saying for a whole year and a half, almost 2 years now, it's time to get rid of Harbaugh. It's time to move on. Time to look into something. I have a theory that I'm going to go into with Harbaugh, but I want to hear what you got to say about this Michigan team, Ray.
I just honestly, Jerome, like we were just saying a couple minutes ago, I don't see any way he survives now. I mean, I know the boosters and everybody that wanted to hire him they're not going to love the idea of eating a contract. Mm-hmm. But really, at this point, do you have any choice? I mean, we kid a lot about, because I'm a Notre Dame fan and you're a Michigan, and it used to be a huge rivalry. Yeah. But I don't like when teams like Michigan are bad. It's like when USC is bad. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right to me. Mm-hmm. I like competitive football. We've talked about this before, Michigan, USC, Alabama, Notre Dame. I know some Ohio State fans will be, and I'm not saying, I understand Ohio State's a really great team, but those are the four teams that when those teams aren't good, it bothers me. Mm-hmm. So, it is what it is, and I don't understand how see how Harbaugh can survive this. I don't see it. But again, I know there's going to be people that aren't going to, and they're not going to fire him, and he's not going to quit. So they have to mutually ask him to step down and walk away. They have no choice.
I agree with that. I have a quick theory about John Harbaugh real quick. I think the way they're going to get out of this is that there is a opening down the street from Michigan that is now open now. There's been speculation of him going back to the NFL. So I would think that Harbaugh would not have a problem becoming the head coach of the Detroit Lions Right. What do you think about that?
I think that I could see that. I mean, it's funny. I work with a guy who has a friend of his who is a Michigan and a Detroit Lions fan. He
Hmm.
lives in Florida now, but he's from that area, so
Yeah.
he roots for them two teams. And he's been saying the same thing to the guy I work with. They had no choice. Both of these guys got to be fired. But wouldn't it be kind of weird if Harbaugh gets resigns, walks away from Michigan, however you want to put it, and accepts a job at Detroit? Wow, that's probably like, I don't know if you're a Lions fan if that's what you want. I probably wouldn't want that, but I do think that Jim Harbaugh is a good coach. I think that he's just a strange guy in a college. I don't understand. What I don't understand is he
Yes.
did a really good job at Stanford,
Hmm.
and now he can't find his own shadow.
Yeah. I
I
think it
mean,
I think it works in a sense because it's like the contrast of what Matt Patricia was. I think Jim Harbaugh is a real players coach. From what I'm hearing, Matt Patricia wasn't really what Matt Patricia really wasn't that, and he didn't have his identity because he was trying to be in that really New England way. And John Harbaugh is that player coach, that cultural guy that would do anything for his players. I think that's might be the direction that the Lions are looking for. I could be wrong, but
my
I
only thing about that is if I'm Detroit, you have to completely start over. You have to
mm,
you got rid of the coach, you got rid of the GM. If you bring in Jim Harbaugh, you have to make Jim Harbaugh understand we may move on from Matthew Stafford, and you may be coaching a rookie quarterback next year.
which I don't think he minds. I think like Jim Harbaugh loves to have that quarterback that fits his mold. As you look at Michigan, he brung in Shea Patterson, who he thought was a quarterback of a mode that he liked. And he was really giddy about having Shea Patterson. Before that, he had the other three quarterbacks that kind of rotated in. But like, I feel like he would love to have the quarterback that he likes in place. So I think that will work out, to be honest, in a
I
weird
don't
way.
disagree. My only thing is that honestly, I think what crushed him at Michigan or made it so he didn't succeed was, for one, his defense. They've progressively every year have gotten worse. And his
Yeah.
inability to find and settle on a quarterback has really hurt him,
Yeah.
or hurt Michigan, I should say.
No, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So maybe it might work out where that happens and it's a weird thing. But let's talk about this weekend. Michigan, we're gonna do a quick little rundown with this. Michigan is said to not may have to cancel their game on Saturday due to COVID-19 issues. It's an issue that's going around in the NFL as well right now with a lot of um, games getting switched. Obviously, in college, games cannot be rescheduled. They most likely have to be canceled. So there's rumors that Michigan. I don't know if it's confirmed yet. It might be confirmed by now, but there's rumors that Michigan may not play on Saturday, and it also might affect next week's game after this one, who they're playing Ohio State. Now there've been some speculation because we're going to talk about Ohio State right now because Ohio State haven't played their last game this Saturday, which means they lost. They're two games that they haven't played this year. They're in jeopardy of some a playoff spot now, and if that means if Michigan don't play them in that last game, Ohio State will definitely not be in the playoffs, um, be playoff eligible, or I'm sorry, championship eligible, which means they won't be able to get in the playoffs. So, Ray, I want to know how do you feel about this whole situation with Ohio State possibly not being able to get into the playoffs?
Well, I think it'd be in service to college football and to Ohio State because they are obviously one of the top college programs right now, one of the best teams in college football. for them not to be included in the playoffs would be a shame. But I understand, what's their body of work? Who are they competing against? I mean, I understand one way of looking at it, like they haven't played enough games. I get that, but not to include them in the playoffs, I think would really taint the playoffs. It really would. To me, like I think we talked about this earlier. Like honestly, Jerome, I hate to say this after what they should have canceled this season. The Big Ten should have just stayed canceled, and then they wouldn't be worried about this. And honestly, maybe all of college football. We've had many programs miss games, not have players. I mean, the NFL right now. Look at Baltimore's roster right now. I mean, not to get too involved in the NFL. I mean,
Mhm.
you're talking about your whole backfield is different now. I mean, like this has really been, I mean, a sad season to be honest with you. It's a shame to say, I mean, because I love football and Notre Dame has played well, and of course I'm a Dolphins fan, and they have played well, but part of it leaves a bad taste in your mouth because it really hasn't been a real season. It's been like kind of jaded the whole year.
Mhm. Yeah, and as you guys probably know, we are currently recording this on a Wednesday evening, and literally right before we got off, we had I think it's the first time ever a Wednesday night game, which is held by the Ravens and Steelers. So this just tells you, and that game got rescheduled like 2 or 3 times. So that just tells you how this COVID situation is affecting football right now, and it's getting worse. Ray, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like this is gonna be a current thing? Like, it's just gonna probably even affect the playoffs?
I think it can. I honestly think, no one's going to want to hear. I honestly think that it's really, again, it's kind of left the NFL with a black eye. I mean, like I understand, like they're getting the games in, they are, which
Yeah,
is I guess really for TV and revenue wise is really what they're worried about. But
yeah,
has it been a good year? I mean,
yeah.
I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. But again, I'm glad. Part of me's glad because I would have really missed football, and
Mm-hmm.
part of me thinks like, has this year really been worth what we've gone through? I mean, I don't know that honestly. In a way, I think at this point, the fact that we're still going through this COVID, we're going on another 3 months. We're a year now of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
a full year, and I think what has hurt us is that people have not taken it seriously enough. And honestly, if you would have told these teams, yo, if we find that you've been infected by this COVID and it's because of your negligence, you're going to forfeit games. I think maybe teams would have taken it a little bit more seriously.
Definitely, definitely. Juan, thank you for putting your comment in. He says Ohio State out, Rutgers in. Oh boy. Um, Juan, I love you, man. Love you. Let's, let's move on from that one. But yeah, definitely. The Ohio State is definitely in trouble, which it really does suck for the playoffs. Don't know how that's gonna work out, especially if Michigan does have to cancel that game next week. It's
The
gonna be trouble.
the only way Rutgers will go to the playoffs is if they buy a ticket, okay? All right, man. And
Yeah, yeah.
here I have one thing I want to say about me, and we're going to go back to Michigan for 1 second here, dude.
Mhm.
Clark Lee, the defensive coordinator from Notre Dame, is supposedly not talking to anybody, but he had some feelers out there that Vanderbilt, which is his alma mater, he went to Vanderbilt, was a fullback there, I believe. And people are talking about maybe Vanderbilt trying to hire him. I don't know if he'll do that. I think that if he's smart, before I would go to Vanderbilt, I would just stay in Notre Dame for another year. And I don't want him to leave. I wish he would just, but I know he's going to go coach somewhere. Jerome, that's your guy, man. I'm telling you right now. A program like Michigan, who is usually, really, in my book, is a defensive team first and foremost. You get a guy like that who help you recruit, If you watched the Notre Dame game last week against North Carolina, he held North Carolina, one of the best offenses in college football, 280 yards under what they average. 17 points, 17 in the first half, and nothing after that. That guy, as far as game adjustments from series to series, especially from quarter to quarter, is as good as anybody in college football right now. That's your guy.
Definitely. Let's get into some comments from Juan. He says, Coastal Carolina is going to play BYU. Who you picking? So Ray, that was actually another announcement that I was going to talk about today. Also, is that Coastal Carolina is now got scheduled to play BYU. Both teams are undefeated right now. Coastal Carolina have been playing out of their minds lately. I think they only had one close game the entire season. Just beat Liberty. That was also undefeated. They are currently 14 in the polls, if I'm not mistaken. One, correct me if I'm not correct on that. But Ray, who you got in that game? That's going to be a really good game, I believe.
I think BYU will beat them.
I agree. As much as I like Coastal Carolina, and we got some good guys, we was able to interview a lot of the guys, good team. But BYU is playing out of their mind. They are putting points up, and they have a good defense. Yeah, that's gonna be a game. I'm very curious to see how that goes, though. I would love to see. I mean, I'll be rooting for Coastal Carolina, full in and full out. Hope they win. But yeah, that BYU team is different. They're used to being in the bigger spotlight and playing bigger teams. And Coastal Carolina, although we love them and they're good, they're a really good team, but they haven't been able to play anybody outside of their conference, which I don't think their conference is the most competitive. We'll definitely. I mean, hey, I would love to see them win. Juan picks up his prediction. He says 18-13. That is very low scoring game, Juan. I'm very surprised that you picked that up there. I do worry about the a freshman quarterback playing against a high ended team like that. McCall been playing out of his mind. Grayson McCall, don't get me wrong, he's been playing like a veteran quarterback, but the competition now playing a BYU team, I think that's going to be a little bit tough. What do you think, Ray?
Zach Wilson, one of the best college quarterbacks in the league, right? In football, college football, right now.
Yeah,
they're not going to beat BYU.
Probably going to be a first round pick.
Will be a first round pick, and they're not going to beat BYU. It's not going to happen. I'll be rooting for them too, because I always root for the underdog, but I don't think they'll beat them.
Yeah. One also says that the only way Notre Dame is going to be a college championship is if they buy a ticket. Ooh, shots fired back.
Well, let's not talk about the number 2 team in the country like that with disrespect like that, okay, dude?
Ooh, he said, "What's your favorite team?" One. That's their rank. Wait. Okay, that's not the score. That's the ranking. I thought Coastal Carolina was 16, not 18. Thanks, Juan, for clarifying that for me. Yeah, I thought that was going to be a very, very small small ranking. We got Ryan in here. Welcome to the podcast, Ryan. Thanks for coming in. He says, "Isn't Juan a Syracuse fan?" Juan is okay. So this is the thing about Juan. I'm gonna say it out here on the live for everybody to know. Juan went to both Syracuse and Rutgers, so he likes both teams. I think he reps Rutgers a little bit more than Syracuse because Syracuse was his grad school, but yeah, he is definitely a Rutgers and Syracuse guy.
And you know what? I don't like bashing on Rutgers. I'm not bashing Rutgers. I root for them because I do live in the state of New Jersey. Correct. But I'm not stupid or delusional. They have a long way to go before they're even respectable, to be honest with you.
Correct. Yeah, and Greg Schiano, he's gonna bring that team back like he did before, and I think that he was a great rehire. Rutgers really needed him. He fits in Rutgers. That's just his baby, and he playing really well. He's doing really well with them. He had Michigan down to the wire. They actually probably should have won that game, to be honest. Had me scared because me and Juan had a bet, and I actually won that bet. I wasn't gonna come on here gloating or anything like that because that game was nothing to be gloating about. So
No.
nothing to be gloating about, especially after last week's game too. So definitely trust me, it was definitely a thing. Ryan says Notre Dame 67, Syracuse 6. Ooh, that's a yeah. It probably honestly it might be something similar to that. Um
You know
uh
what? I would agree with that, except for one thing. Brian Kelly, for everybody busting him, Brian Kelly is a very respectable guy,
yeah.
and he would never pour it on like that. They'll win like 48-10 because after they get ahead by 30 points, they'll start running the ball on every down.
That's true. That's true. This is actually Avery. He said, glad Greg is back in Rutgers. He shouldn't have never left. Totally agree with that. So thank you, Avery, for being in here as well. We appreciate you being in the chat room. But yeah, definitely agree with that. Hope you guys enjoyed that Wednesday evening game. It was kind of weird to say it like that, hearing Chris Collinsworth's voice today. But let's what was you about to say, Ray?
The worst thing about it is 3:40 starting time.
It
What
was
the heck is
weird.
that?
It was so weird. I think that I was able to watch it. One says, honestly, if Notre Dame doesn't put up more than 40 points, I'm disappointed. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So let's get into our week 13 review. Like we always do. The first game we're going to talk about is that Iowa versus Texas game. That game came down to the wire. Iowa State won 23-20. Ray, how do you feel about that game?
Well, Brock Purdy had a nice efficient game, 25-36, 312, one touchdown, a rushing TD. And Sam Ellinger, again, played okay, but shows you why he's not really a good quarterback, you know?
Yeah, I mean, all right. So Purdy, we was talking about him in the beginning of the season. He's struggling in the beginning of the season. I feel like he's getting his feet under him now. He's starting to play a lot better as the weeks go on and go on. Might have been just the fact that haven't had practice due to COVID. So I think that now he got a couple of games under his belt. He's looking a lot better. He's playing a lot better. Sel Ellinger, man, it's just like he was thought to be a really good quarterback, and he's just so inconsistent and just something like he played like not only him, the team plays down to competition all the time. Um, I don't know. There's something really weird about this Texas team that I can't put a finger on. It's like some games you're like, oh, okay, and then other games you're like, why? Like, what's going on? Like, such an inconsistent team, right?
That's the word right there, inconsistent.
Yeah, yeah.
Their quarterback is inconsistent. Their defense is inconsistent. They don't put it together from week to week. They just don't.
Definitely. And this game, the running game wasn't any better. Sam Ellinger had 65 rushing yards, which actually led the team. And even on Iowa State, they didn't rush that much either. Hall did have 91 yards on 20 attempts, which is a good average, but the running game wasn't really there. It was mostly passing in this game as well. Um, uh, I don't know. I don't feel like just like
Well,
this.
you saw Brock Purdy use his tight ends. Charlie Kohler had a really nice game, 6 receptions, 131 yards. Dylan, I'm going to butcher this name, but the name is Sonier. 5 receptions, 70 yards. Nice game, solid game. Again, Iowa State is another team, though, a little bit like Texas. They're inconsistent. I mean, I like Iowa State. I root for them. I like Brock Purdy. I think he's a gamer. I think he has some like he'll be in the NFL. But I just don't know. Like from last year to this year, he's not played as well this year as he did last year. So we'll
Definitely.
see.
And Charlie Kohler is a beast.
He's a good football player. He sure is.
He's gonna be a very good or to solid tight end in the NFL. I think he's gonna be really good.
Yeah, I like him. He's a good player.
Definitely. All right, let's go to our next game. and that was let's go to your game, the Notre Dame versus UNC. I thought this game would be a lot closer than it was, and it was not close. So uh, you guys totally rendered them scoreless in the second half of the game. It was tied at halftime. It was looking like one of those games that you're just like, oh wow, this is exactly what I was looking for. This is exactly what I was thinking. And then North Carolina cannot run the ball. They only got 87 yards on the ground total. For them to be a team that have two really good running backs. I don't know. We always talked about having Sanhao. We wanted to have them use him more, but they do got those running backs, and they do. I feel like they have an identity crisis right now where they don't know, like, hey, should we be running more? Should we be passing more? Some weeks they're trying to run too much, and then some weeks they passing it too much. Ray, what do you think about this game?
I think Notre Dame's defense is really the one
Yeah,
thing you can depend on. Notre Dame's defense, you can put your hat out there every week. They
yeah,
make plays, man. They really in the second half really shut down North Carolina. I honestly thought it was gonna be a higher scoring game than that. I think that most people did,
I
but
did.
I was Notre Dame was consistent on offense. They didn't do nothing great. Ian Book had a nice, functional game. Had 23 for 33, 279, one touchdowns, 8 rushes for 48 yards. Kyren Williams had another nice game. 124 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 20-yard touchdown reception. But it was really Notre Dame's defense in the second half that basically made a statement. And I mean, I was talking to Ryan during the game. We watched a lot of it together, and we were like, man, we really thought Notre Dame would win. We were a little afraid about North Carolina scoring a lot of points. We were, because they've been scoring points against everybody.
Yeah,
And we were like, we both thought, well, we need to have a nice win here because a lot of people picked Notre Dame to lose. And we were like, we need Notre Dame to have make a statement in this game. And their defense did. I mean, they really did. They played great. And again, Clark Lee, his adjustments from quarter to quarter is as good as any college coach in college football. It just is.
one thing they Michigan cannot say, but I digress. But yeah, I was actually going to ask you about Ian Book because I know Ray, you were not the biggest Ian Book fan, but these last couple of games, he's been playing really well. How you feel about his gameplay lately?
I think that he is basically, again, early in the season, he kind of struggled a little bit finding his identity.
Yeah,
Good for him and good for Notre Dame. He's picked the right time of the year to play probably his best football.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that he been looking solid and he's doing the best he can right now. And I hope he continues because it makes some good Notre Dame football. I'd rather have Notre Dame in the playoffs than Iowa State anyway. So, but that's just me and my bias.
I mean, it's all going to come down to if how Notre Dame plays. Well, of course they got excuse me, they have Syracuse this week, and then Wake Forest after that. There is some talk about them not having to play Wake Forest. I don't know exactly the situation.
Yeah,
Ryan was explaining some of it to me earlier. But either way, as long as they play well against Clemson, they should be one of the four playoff teams.
yeah, they're and again, I don't know the full details. I'll probably look into this later on. But they don't have to play Wake Forest anymore due to some seeding issues or something like that.
Yeah.
So they're automatically eligible for the championship game, which means they're going to play Clemson again. And this game's going to be really big on not only Notre Dame but Clemson as well. Clemson loses this game, it might be an issue.
Right. I mean, here's the thing: if Notre Dame say they lose to Clemson and it's a close game,
It should
Notre
still be
Dame Notre Dame will probably find their way still into one of the top four teams.
yeah.
And if Clemson loses, they probably won't be a playoff team.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy. Obviously, they're gonna have Trevor Lawrence back, so that's gonna be a big
Um,
factor, a huge factor.
I'll be honest with you. I love good football. I can't wait.
I agree. I agree.
Can't wait.
100% agree. And the thing was like that y'all last win was not had nothing to do with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, he could have made a couple more plays here and there, but the kid DJ, and I'm not gonna try to say his last name because I totally forgot already. But DJ played really well, and the game was close. It went to a couple of overtimes, and Notre Dame pulled it out. So we'll see
That
how it
really
goes.
was a statement game for Ian Book right there. That was his statement game of
That
the
was
year.
that was,
It
and
was.
he's continuing it. I think that's the great part about this whole thing is that
Absolutely.
he's
Yep.
continuing as well. All right, let's get to our next game. We're gonna talk about Stanford and Cal.
Cal. Yeah.
That game was a close game, 24 to 23. Cal loses again, which is now there are 0-3. Ray, what do you think about that one?
I like I'm never going to say I like Stanford. I like Stanford's quarterback David Mills, but he again has been a little bit too inconsistent for me this year. But I mean, they won the game. No one did anything great in the game. I mean, Damian Moore for the running back from Cal had 121 yards on 10 carries, but it was kind of a sloppy game when if you watched it. It really was. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Again, these two programs, we said this in the past already, right? Stanford. If you guys haven't been watching this last year, I was that guy that thought, oh, okay, I think Stanford's going to be better this game, and they disappointed me all last year. They've been a very disappointing team like lately, and then you got Cal, which was pretty good last year, but they lost a lot of weapons on defense. We was worried about that, and I think that's really showing now this year with a whole bunch of new starters. So this game, it wasn't really a highly anticipated game. It was close. It was a competitive game, but wasn't expecting much out of these teams, right?
no, me too. I mean, I like Davis Mills. I like the quarterback for Stanford. I think he has upside. I think he's a very good college player. I think he has a potential. Excuse me, bless you. I think he has potential at the next level. I do. But again, it was really kind of a sloppy game. No one really did anything that stood out. Their defenses both played hard, but I wouldn't say either one of them are really that good. They just kind of like I don't know. It just wasn't a great game. It was
Yeah,
competitive, but it wasn't great. I mean, would you honestly? I don't know if it's because of the COVID or whatever. A lot of games have been like that this year, where so like you watch games and you're like, okay, the score was close, but it
yeah,
wasn't a well played game. You know?
very sloppy
Yeah,
penalties, turnovers. It's a lot of that this year. It's a lot of that
yeah,
this year.
for
Definitely.
sure. That
All
and
right, let's
injury.
get. Yeah, definitely the injuries, opt outs. It's just
Yeah,
this year is something else. This year is definitely something. It's the epitome of 2020. Let's just say that.
you're right. I can't wait to get to next year. To be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year will be a lot better.
So,
It's coming around the corner. Let's just
yep.
hope. Let's just hope. All right. Let's talk about the upset of the week. We have Oregon State beating Oregon 41 to 38. Ray, this game was no defense, to say the least. What do you think about this one, Ray?
Um, I think Jermer Jefferson has solidified the fact that this kid is a player, man. I mean, again, I was listening to something on like a YouTube type thing a couple weeks ago, and I think actually Ryan picked Oregon State and said I think Jermer Jefferson's going to go off this week, and he did, and he carried them. I
Yeah,
mean, neither one of these defenses played much football. They
no,
don't. But again, Oregon State beats Oregon. That's a big win for them. You
yeah.
know,
Oregon State did do the better defense and getting two interceptions on
correct.
Oregon's quarterback. But yeah, the 226 yards for 29 carries and 2 touchdowns from Jefferson really carried Oregon State. I think that was the defining thing about Oregon State is that they was able to run the ball very efficiently against Oregon.
What it did really is make the Pac-12 basically mute in any kind of playoff contention.
Yeah, yeah, it
You know,
really did. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, the playoffs is just gonna be the same teams. It really is just gonna be
It's
the same
a
four teams.
shame. I mean, it's kind of a shame, but I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, I'm just hoping those games are good games. I mean,
yeah,
I don't want to see any more blowouts this year. I'm tired of it. To be honest with you.
definitely. All right, let's talk about another game. This game was not even close, but I do want to talk about this game because our guy went off in this game. I want to talk about the Buffalo versus Kent State game. And man, we Jared Patterson, a friend of Inside the Hashes, we were able to interview him. We talked to him on a weekly basis, doing a really good job. So shout out to Jared Patterson. He tied the record. He could have even broke the record until his coach took him out the game. And there's a lot of talk about him now being a Heisman candidate. I don't think he's going to actually win, but it'd be great to at least have him in that category. The guy almost got 1,000 yards in what is it, 4 games, 5 games they only played. 8 touchdowns in the last game, 409
9 years.
yards. The guy is dominant. He's gonna be I think at least a second round pick next year's draft. Ray, what do you think about his performance and not only his performance but the Buffalo team? They're playing really well themselves as a team. Also, I just wanted to
I think
highlight this team.
yeah, they did. They really they play hard, man, and their offense is fun to watch. And Jared Patterson is fun to watch. And the
Correct.
shame of it is, you said he tied the touchdown record. He could have broken the record.
I was so heartbroken when
He he had 409 yards. He needed 50, I think it was like either 15 or 19 yards to break the record. And they just took him out. And I probably would have let him out there just to break the record. I think that he has moved himself into a second day pick. I don't know if he'll be taken in the second round. Because if you look at his traits, he's a good runner,
yeah,
good contact, balance, good contact to balance type of a runner. A slasher though, physical kid, but he's not a speed guy. He's not a space guy. He's a guy with some wiggle who will give
mm-hmm.
you positive yardage on every down,
Correct.
even at the NFL level. He'll play in the NFL. I just don't know if he'll be. I think if he's picked, he'll be a third round pick.
Yeah, you might be actually right about that because I'm not sure about his. He don't show much in the passing game. I don't believe.
No,
Um,
if he goes to the combine and he tests well,
mm-hmm.
and when I say well, I'm no worse than a 4.6 speed. I mean, I know he's going to do good in all the cone drills and all that because that's his game.
Yeah,
His
exactly.
balance to contact is ridiculously good. But
Strong.
that is his game, to be honest with you.
Excuse me. Also, his teammate. I want to just shed some light on his teammate because Buffalo don't get a lot of love. I just want to get some Buffalo love too today. His teammate Malcolm Kunitz. I forgot how to say this.
Yeah,
I said it right.
yeah.
Playing really well. He has 5 sacks right now, and within those 4 games, playing very very well. He's one of those guys that we highlighted as well as one of the guys on that Buffalo's defense that is playing that. It's going to be a draft pick as well. I just wanted to highlight him as well. Everybody, sees Jared Patterson's stats, but Malcolm is doing very well as well, and I think he's going to be a good addition to the NFL as well.
Yep. I mean, if you look at the MAC conference, I mean, it's just. I mean, again, here's the thing about Jared Patterson. I kind of take. I heard somebody else says, what you're looking for him is he the best player in his conference without a doubt.
Yeah.
So he's definitely gonna be a draftable player. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I totally agree with that. All right, let's get into another game. We're gonna go into Northwestern versus Michigan State. Michigan State won 29-20, upsetting Northwestern, who was at the time eighth in the rankings. Got another upset, Ray. What do you think about this one?
I think that I think Michigan State played their best game of the year. I think Northwestern's defense did not play as well as they had the rest of the year, to be honest with you. I was surprised. I thought Northwestern was going to win. Their
Hmm.
defense played really good the week before, but
Yeah,
last week didn't play as well. I mean, the crazy thing is, you don't. If you look at the numbers from neither team is that great. I think that one of the big differences, Peyton Ramsey threw the 2 picks,
exactly.
kind of really hurt them. You can't give the other team good field position and expect to win. So, which
Definitely.
again, the week before, he played really well and didn't turn the ball over at all. But again, it happens, So,
Yeah, and one of the things that I said about Michigan State, especially after beating Michigan, is that Lombardi's not doing anything special on the field, but he's doing enough to win the game, which is weird.
11 of 27, man. Ugh.
Yeah, 27, 167 yards. He does have a pick, but he has 2 touchdowns, which is enough to win the game. Even in the running game, they haven't seen that potent. Their defense is really good. As you can see, the defense is doing what they have to do to keep this team in the game. They got the 2 picks, like you said, but it just man, the Michigan State does enough to win some games. I mean, it's
Yeah,
especially Lombardi. He did the same thing against our team. Go ahead, Ray.
it just wasn't a great game. I mean, it kind of sloppy on both ends, to be honest with you. Michigan State was just glad to get out of there with a win, to be honest with you. So
Definitely, definitely. Do we want to talk about that Auburn game? Not really, right?
that's up to you, Jerome.
Um, it was a rivalry game. We all expected Alabama 42, Auburn 13. We've been saying it. Auburn been so inconsistent, especially with Bo Nix. I'm just gonna leave it there. Ray, you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, honestly, Alabama really has no competition right now. They really
Yeah,
don't. They're gonna walk through the SEC this year. So
definitely, definitely. All right.
Bo Nix is, again, like you said, Bo Nix is inconsistent as anybody in college football. So
Correct, correct. All right, let's get to our last couple of games. We're gonna go to Utah versus Washington. Washington beat Utah 24-21. Um, Another team similar to Cal in my eyes about Utah was that they lost so much on their defense. And it's really showing. They're 0-2 right now at the start of the year. Um, they obviously the first game of the year they wasn't able to play due to COVID issues. Washington's rolling. They are 4-0 at the moment. What do you think about this game, Ray?
I think that their quarterback, Dylan Morris, is through 3 picks and still won the game. That's surprising to me. I
Yeah,
mean, I think their tight end, Kate Otten, is a nice little player. 8 receptions, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's a nice player. There's nothing special for either one of these teams, really. Like you said, Utah lost a lot of talent this past year, especially on defense, and you could just tell they're not the same team. And again, Washington was just glad to get out of there with a win.
yeah. I feel like there was. I mean, Washington is undefeated right now, but I feel like there's so much more expectations from this team coming into this season, and they're not playing up to par at this point. And they're lucky because they're not playing anybody that good right now, and which kind of explains why they're unranked. I think they're ranked at this point now. I think. Um, if anybody knows if they're ranked right now, please let me know in the comment section. But yeah, last week they wasn't ranked. So I go ahead.
I don't know if a win over Utah should move them anywhere, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think they were. And I'll double check that in a second. But yeah, I think that was one of those games where you thought Washington would be a little bit better this year, and they haven't been playing that well.
Yeah.
Uh, and I do want to highlight another team real quick. Coastal Carolina, they're playing really well. They're ranked, like we talked about earlier, they're ranked 18 in the country. Playing BYU, won very handily, 49-14. They've been doing this all year where they've blown out teams. They only had one close game, which was the Liberty game, I believe. No, I'm sorry. I forgot who they
They were
played.
just supposed to play Liberty this week. Is that game has been changed?
That game is going to be still on. Yeah, they have that on prime time. But they're going to be playing Liberty this week, and they're going to be playing BYU. It's going to be very interesting to see how they're doing. And I've been noticing they've been getting some pretty good recruits lately too, due to they're playing well. So hopefully that's a team on the rise, and I really like the program and their coach. So hopefully they do really well this year. Hopefully they do really well, especially against BYU. So with
Yeah.
that being said, we're gonna go into next week's games. So Ray, this is the point of the podcast where we give our predictions, who we think is gonna win. We didn't do last week, obviously, like I said, because of Thanksgiving, so we skipped out on that. But Ray, we're gonna get into this again. I've been doing actually pretty well this year. I had one terrible week where I think I lost. I didn't have a single person that I predicted right.
Mhm.
Ray, you've been doing this really well as well. So let's get right into it. We're gonna go into Oklahoma State versus TCU. Who you got in that one, Ray?
I'm gonna take Oklahoma State in the game. I'm a little worried about after they had a nice win last week
Yeah.
that maybe but they're favored by 2.5 on the road.
Mhm.
I'll take them to win the game.
I agree. I don't think TCU is all that great, which is kind of confusing me why they're only a 2.5 point win, which is very weird. I mean, they are away, so technically they're a little bit higher than that, but
Yeah,
um, I don't know. I don't think this number kind of confused me a little bit. I didn't think TCU was that good to overthrown Oklahoma State that much. So I'm taking Oklahoma State as well.
yeah.
All right, next game we got Auburn versus Texas TNM. I'm sorry, A&M. I don't know what I was saying. Texas A&M. Right here, you got in that one.
I'm taking Texas A&M, dude.
Really,
I am.
I agree with you. Bo Nick's been very inconsistent. Um,
I don't.
I don't
I don't. I don't believe in him at all. I don't.
really. For some reason, I thought you liked him. I don't know why. That's why I was
I
surprised
think.
when you
I
said that.
think again, he's a nice, solid athlete, and someone will take a shot on him
Mhm.
because there's always coaches that think they can fix everybody, but he's not an NFL quarterback, man.
Yeah, I think there was like we said this the last time we was on the podcast. The hype around him coming into this year because he showed promise. He showed a lot of promise last year. But like I
Sam
said,
Milling,
I don't see any progression. Like,
no,
yeah, I feel like he's still at the same spot that he was last year, and it's not helping Auburn at all. Especially with the fact that they lost so many players on their defense, a couple of guys on offense that really helped them out, offensive linemen, things like that. Um, yeah, I don't see this being a. This might be a more than a 7 point favorite
well,
game.
Texas A&M is a 7-point favorite, man. So I mean
Yeah,
that again speaks for itself.
yeah,
I mean, do I think they'll cover that 7 points? I don't know because Auburn's defense I think is still pretty good, but I think that Texas A&M will win the game. So
definitely, definitely. All right, let's get to our next one. Texas versus Kansas State. Texas is favored by 7. Right here you got.
I'm going to take Texas to win the game again. I like K-State. K-State's offense. I think they score a decent amount of points. I think that Texas will win the game though. Again, they're favored by 7. Now the only thing that bothers me is they started out as a 9-point favorite and it's going down to 7. But I still take Texas to win the game. So
Two very inconsistent teams.
absolutely,
I think Kansas State was more inconsistent because of the quarterback. Skylar Thompson have not been playing. I think if I'm reading this right, I believe he's still going to be out. I will say though, and this is why I'm going to take K State. And if they lose again, I'm not choosing to win because I've been on the K State train. But I will say I think that Will 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 Howard, which is their freshman quarterback, he is playing better and better each week. I do think that's he's playing better, and I think if they lean on a running game more, I think they're gonna win. K State's defense is good enough to beat a Texas team that is inconsistent. So I'm gonna go with the upset on this one. Scarcely gonna take the upset on this one, right?
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll definitely see with that one. All right. Next game we're gonna go with Boston College versus Virginia. Right here you got.
I'm going to take Virginia.
I agree.
I mean, you know how I love the quarterback at Boston College, but he's not played as well the last month.
Yeah.
He seems to be not playing as well, and maybe like he's lost a little confidence. Maybe honestly, I think that he's a little surprised that they're not playing better as a team around him. To be honest with you,
Yeah, actually, he is not. If you talk about Phil Jokic,
yep,
who obviously came from Notre Dame, so you know about him.
yep,
He's not starting. I think he's out with a knee injury.
yeah. I know that the other quarterback came in a little bit last week. I mean, again,
Yeah,
I think honestly, Phil Dracovic is the only reason Boston College has been winning games earlier this year. And
yeah,
without him, I can't take them to win. So, yeah,
correct. I agree with that. I think that that is like the single factor for me is that he will not be playing in this game, and I think that um, Virginia has some tough games too that
they
they
do.
yeah, and I think they playing well. I think they'll win this game as well.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right, let's go to a game that well actually this game got canceled, so I'm not even gonna talk about this game. So I don't have to worry about the heartache of the Michigan team losing to Maryland. So let's skip that game. Let's go to the next game. Indiana versus Wisconsin. Indiana's quarterback is injured. I believe he's not playing. So Ray, what do you think about that one? I'm trying to look for the box. This
Yeah, I think the quarterback for Indiana is not playing. Do I think Wisconsin will win this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I think he's, if I'm not mistaken, he's out for this season too, which stinks.
Yeah.
They was on a, they was on a, they was on a good run.
Yeah.
Um, Michael Pendix, he's
Pendick.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pendix Jr. So he's gonna be out. Wisconsin, they've been playing decent. Defense is, I think their defense is better than their offense. So who you say you got on this one?
I got Wisconsin. They're favored by 2 touchdowns. I think they'll cover that. I do.
Yeah, yeah. It was actually the box score was a lot closer, but I think once the quarterback was announced out,
Yeah.
that line went a lot different. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Wisconsin as well.
Pretty much
Uh,
the other way was, as I said, with the Texas game line going down, Wisconsin started out as 11 and a half point favorite. Now it's up to 14. So, you know.
yeah, yeah, and it's all about the quarterback play, and both have quarterback issues. So all
Yep.
right, let's talk about Auburn. Did we talk about this? We already talked about that one. Sorry.
We did. I have Oregon and Cal as my next game.
Yeah. All right. So let's go Oregon, Kyle. What you got, Ray?
I get Oregon. I think that Oregon will probably take it out on California how they lost last week to Oregon State. So
I agree. Um, yeah, like I've been saying, Oregon. I think Oregon's strength is their offense. And Cal's weakness is their defense. Like I said, they
correct.
lost a lot of guys to on their defense. I think this game's gonna be this line change too is +10 right now.
Yeah.
Um, for Kyle. So Oregon's favored by 10.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that is a line that started out at like 7.5, 8. Now it's up to
yeah,
10. So
yeah. So I agree with the line. I'm going to go with Oregon as well.
yeah.
Next game, we got Colorado versus Arizona. Who you got, Ray?
I got Colorado. I like Colorado's defense. I think the pretty much Arizona. I don't see them really competing in this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Colorado is 3-0. Arizona is 0-3. I think like we had expectation for Arizona to be good this year, and they
I
have
think
their
TJ did.
yeah, TJ. TJ definitely did. TJ's Arizona fan, but yeah, they've been not good. Um, had a couple of competitive games to be honest, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think they. I don't see them winning. All right, let's go to UCLA with the Chip Kellys versus the Arizona States. Um, um, they are favored by 3. Who you got?
I'll take Arizona State. I think they're playing on the road, I believe, in this game.
Herm
I
Edwards.
this is actually the team that I think TJ actually went to Arizona State, right? So I'll do him a favor. I'll take Arizona State this week.
I always forget which one he went to.
I think
So
he kind of roots for both of these teams, Arizona and Arizona State, but I actually think he went to Arizona State.
yeah. He definitely went to Arizona State. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, shout out
So
to
I don't want to upset him this week, so I'll take Arizona State.
I'm gonna pick them as well. I love Herm Edwards. I think that team is really good. They played a really good game last week as well. UCLA went just got a couple of good wins. But I don't see them winning Arizona State. Actually, this line is kind of up to par where I think this game's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a little bit closer.
Yeah, I mean, I think the UCLA's offense is pretty solid, but I think that Arizona State will win. I could see it actually being a field goal game, to be honest with you. I do.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with that. The next game we got on the list is Oregon State versus Utah. The line actually changed on this one. It's now favored by Oregon State by 11. Do you agree with that, Ray?
Oregon State is favored by 11.
Yes.
Um, I guess I'll take Oregon State to win the game, but I'm not going to take them to cover that line. Their offense is not good enough to cover that line.
I agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. We're agreeing way too much this round. So I'm since that one's a quick one for us, I do have another game that just popped on my radar. That is a very weird line for me, I think, which is Houston versus SMU. Houston is favored by 2, right? Houston's away. SMU is 7-3. Houston is 3-3. What do you feel about that game?
I'm going to take SMU in that game.
I am too. That's such a weird line.
It is.
Such a weird line. I'm going SMU as well. I wonder why it's like that right now. I really do. It
I
literally
don't
just
know. Honestly, I don't ever try to sit here and because usually I'll look at a line and say, well, that makes sense. And most of the lines do. When they don't make sense, I think they know something that I don't know. What that is, I don't know. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. That's why I wanted to highlight them because it kind of caught my eye. I'm looking at these games and I'm looking like, hold on, where did that line wasn't like that when I first looked at it. Like we say each week, I look at the lines on Monday. They do tend to change within 2 days. Even going up to the game, they definitely do change. But it just some of them just flip like really hard sometimes, and it's just like that one was not even on my radar. That's why I don't have on my list. And all of a sudden, they're a +2 on against Houston. I just thought that was weird.
I just think that again, because of the weird year, the COVID,
Yeah.
a lot of injuries, which
No,
I think we kind of expected a lot of injuries this year, both in the NFL and in college football. But I think it's kind of made a really strange season, to be honest with you.
I agree. All right, let's get to our next game. We're gonna talk about West Virginia versus Iowa State. A very close game. Iowa State is favored by 6.5. Ray, who you got in this game?
I'm going to take Iowa State, but I think this is going to be a pretty close game. I think that Iowa State will probably win by maybe 2 or 3 points, but I'll take them at home.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm really looking forward to this game. This is game I feel like you said, it's going to be a close game. I'm going to go with Iowa, but I would not be surprised if West Virginia wins. I know that's me just kind of straddling the fence right there, but
I know a couple people that are West Virginia fans. I know a guy that actually I don't work with him, but where I work, he lives there. And he's a big West Virginia fan. And he tried to convince me yesterday they were going to win this game. And I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think Iowa State's a little bit better, a little bit more physical
Yeah,
than West Virginia. So, you know.
definitely, definitely. Um, Sam, I'm gonna address this. We talked about it earlier, but he says, Jerome, how about Michigan's L on Saturday? Not much room to talk, but at least Ray's getting back Irish luck. Sam, we talked about this earlier. This game, I don't want to get too much into about it, but I'm not happy. One, two, I'm ready to fire and start over. And you being a Giants fan, you see what's going on with the Eagles too. So I'm having a bad year. 2020 is not my year. Leave me alone.
It's funny
Yeah,
you can see both of your teams move on completely from their AD with their coach and maybe their athletic director too. He hired this guy. Okay, let's not
correct.
forget that
Yeah,
they
yeah,
made a push to move and hire Jim Harbaugh, threw a lot of money at him, and made sure he went to Michigan. And he has been a complete failure. Okay,
yeah.
plain and simple. Same thing with the Eagles GM. The Eagles GM should have been fired last year. Alshon Jeffrey should have been cut last year, and you wouldn't be going through this right now.
The problem about the Eagles, and I know we're a college football podcast, so I'm just going to touch on this really real quick. Problem with the Eagles is that even after this season, we're going to be in trouble because our cap is horrible. I
That
mean,
is the thing. Like
push
again, we
every
don't even get too much. Like the one thing that how people used to say about Howie Roseman is he handles the cat well. He's not even done that now. So
yeah,
why does he have this job?
yeah.
He is
The
the
fact that he
only
can't draft
GM.
and we got bad contracts on our team is not going
He
well.
is the only GM in pro football who has no football background. None. Why?
I can't answer that one.
Okay.
I can't answer that one. All right, let's get to our last game. We're gonna talk about our team, Coastal Carolina versus Liberty. The line definitely changed on this one as well. Coastal Carolina is favored by 11. Ray, do you think they're gonna cover?
I don't know if they'll cover that line, but I think they're going to win, and I think they're gonna want to produce style points as we say week after week. So I think they'll probably do it. Again, this line started out at 7 on Monday. By Wednesday, it's 11. So
Yeah,
to pick against them would be kind of stupid, to be honest with you.
100% agree. I think they're gonna cover, but I do fear now that the announcement about BYU being on their schedule now, they might look ahead a little bit, and that's
That
always
is going to hurt them.
issue.
Absolutely.
That's always the issue. But Coastal Carolina, I do like I said, they got some ballers on their team. I think they got a couple of guys that are draft eligible on their team as well. Good program. The guys have fun in the locker room. They're playing for each other. I really like the spirit of that team. We're definitely gonna see how this goes. I think they're gonna win. And I think they're gonna cover, but would not be surprised if it's a game that they might be overlooking just a little bit. I don't think they're overlooking this game because this is a interconference game. They know who they're playing, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah, we got BYU now. They might be looking ahead of that game. So hopefully not. I hope that's not the case. I'm really looking forward to seeing them in that. So with that being said, that's going to conclude the RPO podcast for us today. Guys, thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure you check us out again next week. We'll be on again next week, same time, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock for all your college football needs. Definitely make sure you come back and get locked in because it's college football playoff time. We're getting close to it. A lot of these games are going to start really, really mattering. Rather they're getting played or not getting played, this game's going to be canceled. So check us out. This is your favorite college football podcast. So make sure you check that out. Also, make sure you check us out on all our social media on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. for all our player interviews. A lot of these players that we talk about, we interviewed them. So go check out all that, and it does support the Inside the Hatches platform. So please make sure you check that out when you can. Also, check out our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and definitely make sure you check us out on YouTube, where you can find this and all our other podcasts posted on there. We have a lot of good content on there, a lot of player interviews that we have on there as well as our Throwback Thursdays, where we display a lot of players that we talked to in the past that are on there, run by our very own Juan. He does a great job with that, him and Richard Dorada. So please make sure you go check that out. Make sure you go in there and subscribe to that. We are looking to get at least 100 subscribers by the end of this year. So hopefully you guys can go in there and check that out. And we got some great content on there. We got the gaming as well. So Matt and gaming, if you're into all that. So please check that out. Search Inside the Hatches on that as well. So guys, thank you so much for checking us out today. Hopefully I will be around next week. If I'm not if well, there's no Michigan game, so I won't. I'll be a little okay. I'll be okay. But there is still Eagles games that are going on, so make sure you check on your boy, because I'm going through it right now. To be honest, I had this big rant with my friend yesterday. I was very angry. I was like, fire everybody. So I got all that out before we got on the podcast. We was about to have the Eagles discussion podcast if I didn't. So still Eagles fan no matter what, still Michigan fan no matter what. So right into them to the wheels breaks off, which is pretty much what's going on right now. But thank you guys. I'm Jerome Jones, as your humble host. We got Ray Roberts. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you again next week. Peace.